The Lord commanded Nephi to go and get the plates from the wicked Laban inside the city gate. Laman and Lemuel were both afraid to try. Nephi was courageous, this was his reply. I will go, I will do the thing the Lord commands. I know the Lord provides a way, He wants me to obey. I will go, I will do the thing the Lord commands. I know the Lord provides a way, He wants me to obey. The Lord commanded Nephi to go and build a boat. Nephi's older brothers believed it would not float. Laughing and mocking, they said he should not try. Nephi was courageous, this was his reply. I will go, I will do the thing the Lord commands. I know the Lord provides a way, He wants me to obey. I will go, I will do the thing the Lord commands. I know the Lord provides a way, He wants me to obey. The Lord gives us commandments and asks us to obey. Sometimes I am tempted to choose another way. When I'm discouraged and think I cannot try, I will be courageous and I will reply. I will go, I will do the thing the Lord commands. I know the Lord provides a way, He wants me to obey. I will go, I will do the thing the Lord commands. I know the Lord provides a way, He wants me to obey.
Chapter 4. The Brass Plates. Lehi told Nephi that the Lord wanted him and his brothers to go back to Jerusalem. They were to get the brass plates from a man named Laban. The brass plates were important records. They told about Lehi's forefathers and contained the words of God revealed through the prophets. Laman and Lemuel did not want to return to get the brass plates. They said it would be too hard to do. They did not have faith in the Lord. Nephi wanted to obey the Lord. He knew the Lord would help him and his brothers get the brass plates from Laban. Laman, Lemuel, Sam, and Nephi traveled back to Jerusalem to get the brass plates. Laman went to Laban and asked him for the plates. Laban was angry and would not give Laman the brass plates. Laban wanted to kill Laman, but Laman escaped. Laman told his brothers what had happened. He was afraid and wanted to give up and go back to their father in the wilderness. Nephi said they could not return without the brass plates. He told his brothers to have more faith in the Lord, and they would be able to get the brass plates. Nephi and his brothers went to their old home in Jerusalem and gathered their gold and silver to exchange for the plates. They showed Laban their riches and offered to trade them for the plates. When Laban saw their gold and silver, he wanted it for himself and threw them out. Laban told his men to kill Lehi's sons. Nephi and his brothers ran and hid in a cave. Laban kept their gold and silver. Laman and Lemuel were angry with Nephi. They beat Nephi and Sam with a stick. An angel appeared and told Laman and Lemuel to stop. He said the Lord would help them get the plates. He also said Nephi would become a leader over his brothers. Nephi told his brothers to have faith in the Lord and not be afraid of Laban and his men. Nephi encouraged his brothers to go back to Jerusalem. That night, Nephi's brothers hid outside the city wall, while Nephi sneaked inside. He walked toward Laban's house. As Nephi got close to Laban's house, he saw a drunk man lying on the ground. It was Laban. Nephi saw Laban's sword and picked it up. The Holy Ghost told Nephi to kill Laban, but Nephi did not want to kill him. The Holy Ghost again told Nephi to kill Laban so Nephi could get the brass plates. Lehi's family needed the plates so they could learn the gospel. Nephi obeyed the Holy Ghost and killed Laban. Nephi then put on Laban's clothes and armor. Nephi went into Laban's house and was met by Zoram, Laban's servant. Nephi looked and sounded just like Laban. He told Zoram to get the brass plates. Zoram thought Nephi was Laban, so he gave him the plates. Nephi told Zoram to follow him. Laman, Lemuel, and Sam saw Nephi coming and were scared. They thought he was Laban. They started to run away, but stopped when Nephi called to them. Then Zoram realized that Nephi was not Laban, and he tried to run. Nephi caught Zoram and promised not to harm him if he would go with Nephi into the wilderness. Zoram agreed. Nephi and his brothers took Zoram and the brass plates and returned to Lehi and Sariah. They gave the brass plates to Lehi. He and Sariah were happy their sons were safe. They all rejoiced and thanked God. Lehi read the brass plates. They told about Adam and Eve and the creation of the world. They contained the words of many prophets. Lehi and Nephi were happy because they had obeyed the Lord and had been able to get the brass plates. Lehi's family packed the brass plates to take with them on their journey so they could teach their children the commandments recorded on the plates.
Chapter 5, Traveling in the Wilderness. The Lord wanted Lehi's sons to have wives who would teach their children the gospel. He told Lehi to send his sons back to Jerusalem to get Ishmael's family. Nephi and his brothers returned to Jerusalem. They told Ishmael what the Lord wanted him to do. Ishmael believed them, and he and his family went with Lehi's sons. While they were traveling in the wilderness, Laman and Lemuel and some of Ishmael's family became angry. They wanted to go back to Jerusalem. Nephi reminded Laman and Lemuel of all the Lord had done for them. He told them to have greater faith. They were angry at Nephi, but did not go back to Jerusalem. Nephi, his brothers, and Zoram later married Ishmael's daughters. The Lord told Lehi to continue his journey. The next morning, Lehi found a brass ball called the Liahona outside his tent. It pointed the way to go in the wilderness. Lehi's family gathered food and seeds and packed their tents. They traveled through the wilderness for many days, following the directions of the Liahona. Nephi and his brothers used bows and arrows to hunt for food as they traveled. Nephi's steel bow broke, and his brothers' bows lost their strength. The brothers could not kill any animals, so everyone was hungry. Laman and Lemuel were angry. Nephi made a wooden bow and asked his father where to hunt. Lehi received directions in the Liahona. Nephi followed the directions and found some animals. The Liahona worked only when Lehi's family was faithful, diligent, and obedient. Nephi returned with the animals he had found. Everyone was happy to get food. They were sorry they had been angry, and they thanked God for blessing them. Traveling was not easy. Often Lehi's family was tired, hungry, and thirsty. Ishmael died, and his daughters were sad. They complained against Lehi. Laman and Lemuel also complained. They did not believe that the Lord had spoken to Nephi. They wanted to kill Lehi and Nephi and return to Jerusalem. The voice of the Lord spoke to Laman and Lemuel. It told them not to be angry with Lehi and Nephi. Laman and Lemuel repented. Lehi's family continued their difficult journey. God helped them and strengthened them. Children were born. Lehi and Sarai had 2 more sons named Jacob and Joseph. After traveling in the wilderness for 8 years, Lehi's family arrived at the seashore. There they found fruit and honey. They called the place Bountiful.
Chapter 8, Crossing the Sea. The Lord told Lehi to take his family onto the ship they had built. They loaded it with fruit, meat, and honey, and with seeds to plant in the Promised Land. Strong winds blew the ship toward the Promised Land. Laman, Lemuel, and some of the others began being wicked. When Nephi told them to stop, they got angry and tied him up with ropes. Because of their wickedness, the Liahona stopped working. They did not know which way to steer the ship. A terrible storm blew the ship backward for 3 days. Lehi told Laman and Lemuel to untie Nephi, but they would not listen. Lehi and Sarai were so upset that they became ill. Nephi's wife and children cried. They begged Laman and Lemuel to untie Nephi, but they refused. On the 4th day, the storm got worse. The ship was about to sink. Laman and Lemuel knew that God had sent the storm. They were afraid they would drown. Finally, Laman and Lemuel repented and untied Nephi. Even though his wrists and ankles had become swollen and sore from the ropes, Nephi had not complained. Nephi then picked up the Liahona, and it worked again. Nephi prayed, and the wind stopped. The sea became calm. Nephi steered the ship, and it sailed again toward the Promised Land.